Child prodigy, 9-year-old Professor Soborno Isaac Barry will be bestowed with the Da Vinci Laureate by the Da Vinci Institute this week. Barry, also known as the Einstein of our time, is a professor who specializes in maths and science. He was born in 2012. He is an Asian American author and the world's youngest professor. He is also nominated for a Nobel Prize. Let's now cross to my colleague Matlako Kumane, who has more for us. Matlako, thank you very much. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Bumi. We are indeed here in Sandton, and we have, the child prodigy, Professor Barry, and he's just going to tell us a little bit about, what does it take you to be this smart, so young, and to have achieved so much. I understand that he is invited into the country by the Da Vinci Institute, and he will be, today at their graduations, he'll be speaking there. I'm just going to speak to Mr. Schabu Mozilla, and he's just going to tell us, he is the chairman of the Da Vinci Institute, what made them choose Professor Barry. How did they come across his work? Because I know for a lot of us it was the first time that we heard of this young man, that we actually have a living and breathing Einstein in 2021. Mr. Schabu, can you just tell us, what was the decision based on? How did you discover Professor Barry?
So, from the Da Vinci Institute, each year we look at a Da Vinci laureate, a social architect, an individual who impacts society beyond just the immediate surroundings. So, when you look around the world, we found that Professor Barry, at his age, is already beginning to impact complex systems through his passion of maths and science, because we do look for such individuals that are amongst us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Siam. And, Professor Barry, are you comfortable with that? You're good with that. Can you just tell us, at what age, I read that you were at 6 months, you were able to, you're already, talking, and you're able to engage with people. Can you just, tell us about your young years, and at which age did you, discover that you were really good with maths and science?
Well, at 6 months old, I feel like that was my first achievement, to be able to talk in at least a full, sort of coherent sentence. And I started to really get fascinated with the math and science at the age of like 1 and 2. And my father was like a math and physics student, and so he was like when he was studying at university and college, he was doing this equation and that equation. And I would see him writing all this stuff down on the blackboard, and I would be thinking, what does this symbol, all this stuff mean? And I was fascinated with that kind of thing, especially because I would see the repetition in those symbols, and I would think, okay, so there is some kind of system here, but I never knew what those stuff actually meant. And so one day my father caught my fascination with these, so I took I mustered up just a bit of courage and hobbled up to the board and started copying down all the equations. And so my father saw this fascination in me with all these equations, and my fascination with how the imaginative and experimentative sector of science, and so that's what really got me into science. I was really interested in that imaginative part, and that's something that schools don't usually show you. Schools usually show the boring equation full side of math and science, and that makes science boring for lots of people. But it was really fascinating for me because I saw that you could imagine in math and science, and that is one of the most important things in math and science. And I think that the creativity and the capacity to imagine is one of the most important things, especially in math and science, not only in art.
And so you're a professor, but I heard you earlier on when we spoke that you decided to rather go to 8th grade and you were skipping grades. Tell us about your school experience. At which age you thought, let me just go to school. How did that go?
I feel like my school experience had been good so far, but that is only because I live in a moderately rich neighborhood, and that is not the case for everyone. most people don't get a good education from their school because their teachers are not passionate, but rather people who are either in it for the money or just because they have nothing else to do. And so the thing is, those kind of teachers who are not passionate, but rather are only doing it for the money, don't work really that well with their students. They don't really work with the students, and they don't really practice with the equations. They don't really know what they're talking about. All they know is the equations, the material they're talking about, not really actually the whole thing, the entire idea, the whole branch of ideas, what they're talking about. And so it's actually really hard to get a really good, engaging teacher who can not only teach you the basic ideas and facts and complicated systems that are math and science and the part that school does show you, but also the imaginative, experimentative, and discovery fuel sector of math and science. And I think that is very important in becoming a good teacher. And that is what really happened in my math and science classes. And so my schooling experience has been really good, but I don't think that is the case for everyone, especially people who don't even have access to a quality education.
And also, so which grade are you in now? What in terms of your levels, where are you at? Where you thinking that you want to go to? Do you have anything specific that you want to achieve in terms of a career, or are you going to stick to the maths and science?
I really want to at least become somewhat even like a professor, because I want to try and change the educational system, and I want to inspire at least one other person to make a revolutionary breakthrough and think creatively. And I want to show at least the amount of people that is in a class that math and science is not what they show it to be, but rather actually a really fun set of numbers and ideas that are only bound together by a few loose rules. And sometimes these rules can be added, sometimes they can be broken by will, and it's actually just a really fun way to think creatively, and it can get you places that you can't imagine. And so I want to my career goal for the future is to at least become a professor and to show the world that math and science is not what they show it to be, but rather actually a really fun way to discover, to experiment, and to advance our world and observe the natural world.
And in terms of colleges, have you had an idea where you want to go? You know, are you interested in any of them?
I am interested especially in the Ivy League universities, but and I have really a vision to go to at least the top 5 university. So I am really have this kind of ambition, and I want to persevere. I want to persevere in order to get there. And so I think that it is very important to at least get an education from one of the most quality schools out there, like Harvard or Princeton or something of the likes. So I have a goal to get into at least a top 5 university.
And you said earlier you weren't physically ready for the 12th grade. You decided to start at 8th grade.
I don't think I'm ready for 12th grade right now. Yeah, even though it shows my grade level is there, I don't think I'm actually ready for 12th grade and to graduate into college so early. And I want to take the spelling bee as well, so.
So you're also a keen speller?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Barry.
No problem.
Thank you. You heard there, Nompu, that is Professor Barry. He is the 11-year-old Einstein of our time, speaking about maths and science and just saying how he has a passion for this and also wanting to inspire other young people. And also speaking to quite interesting topical issues, saying that, a lot of people that are in the career of, educating children in those particular subjects aren't necessarily well clued up, according to him. And also, I suppose, the passion that he speaks speaks that you need to have this particular passion and also creativity, saying that it's not really that hard. And I think that is where he wants to find himself, also wanting to study at those Ivy League institutions. But, it's been quite fascinating. As you can hear, he's well articulated and well versed in how he speaks. But for now, I think the challenge that he does want to take up is that of the spelling bee. Nompu?
Thanks very much for that, Matlako, for speaking to that young professor. He's 9 years old. He was born in 2012, Soborno Isaac Barry. He says that not many teachers are actually inspired to teach. That's his view. And he says there are very few of us who are fortunate to have the kind of access that he's had. That's all from the On Point team this afternoon. SA Today will have more news for you at the top of the hour. Do have a pleasant one.